On the Track is a monthly web TV show about cryptozoology, natural history, green issues and whatever else the team feel like making up as they go along. Enjoy!
Nuneaton, the jewel of the South Midlands, the town who gave us such great men as George Eliot and Larry Grayson, the throbbing heart of this teeming metropolis, the pearl of the CV13 postcode, down by the roundabout and up the one-way system, is Nuneaton Town Hall, where we can find none other than Nuneaton's Mr. Entertainment.
Hello ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls, I'm Barry Tadcaster and this is my friend Ken Jeffens, who is an Orang Pendek. Hello, my name is Ken Jeffens and I am an Orang Pendek. Unlike the other Orang Pendeks, I do not come from the Indonesian island of Sumatra. I come from the London borough of Lewisham, where I am employed by Lewisham Town Council as an ombudsman. Three hats for Lisa, we got to get 3 hats for Lisa. It won't be easy, she's so hard to please. Oh, apart from singing, what are we doing this week? This week we have a special guest, the Managing Director of the California Prune Directory Board.
I really like the old credits.
Hello ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls and anybody who doesn't fit into any of those categories, and welcome to another episode of On the Track. Just in case you're new to this and you wonder what this is all about, my name's John Downs. I'm a musician, I'm a songwriter, I'm a poet, I'm an author, I'm a cryptozoologist, and 30 odd years ago I started an organisation called the Centre for Fortean Zoology. And each Saturday afternoon we bring you a show explaining what the Centre for Fortean Zoology has been doing this week. And of course there's all sorts of other things as well. We look at the world of Fortean zoology. We take a look at the news, the views and, well, whatever else we feel like making up as we go along, as my dear late wife said at the beginning of the show. And there's more than a smattering of homemade surrealism as well. Why, you may ask? Well, it's simple. It's because the older I get, the more I realise that the world is fundamentally absurd. And this is the only way that I have as a TV person or a film person or whatever I am to be able to illustrate it. And this segues quite nicely into a piece of music which I wrote well over a quarter of a century ago. It's called Invocation of My Demon Brother.
Well, I've been working on this case for a while.
That, just in case you don't know, is the voice of the notorious Fortean and surrealist Tony Doc Shields, who has been a friend of mine for many years, although I haven't seen him for a long time. But I think you should pay attention to the last line.
We're in the right time, in the right place, amphibians from outer space. We're in the right time, in the right place, amphibians from outer space. Echo day in vocal, baby, open up and bleed. I know what you really want, yeah, I know what you need. I know all those stupid things you bottle up inside. Put on your rubber chicken suit and take me for the ride.
Hello everybody, I'm Hennis, and I'm a chicken who lives in a little hole behind the compost heap. But some days, when I know everybody's asleep or out of the way, I sneak into the house and I broadcast on the CSZ broadcast equipment to my loyal followers, who I like to live stream to. Here they are, there's 4 of them, and then I will tell them all the news about what is happening in the garden and particularly around the compost heap. Like this. This is a slow worm, which, as I'm sure you know, is Britain's only species of legless lizard. But what's particularly interesting about this slow worm is that he has lived in the garden for at least 7 years, because it's been 7 years since we first found him, caught by one of the cats and brought into the kitchen. On this occasion, Carl found him out in the middle of the road, wriggling around. And so he rescued him, brought him back, and let him go in the compost heap. I wonder who else lives in the compost heap. This particular slow worm is recognisable because it must have had a run-in with a predator, quite possibly a hedgehog, many years ago, because not only has it lost the tip of its tail, but it has distinctive scars along its body. And we're quite fond of him. I think we really should give him a name. Has anybody got an idea what we should call him? I'm not going to promise that I'll go along with your ideas, but please give your ideas in the comments below. You may or may not have heard of Timothy Leary, but I suspect that most of the people watching this show will have done. He was the person who, in many people's eyes, was responsible for popularising LSD back in the 1960s. He was also a philosopher who did a lot of work on the nature of perception and the nature of reality, and one of his concepts was reality tunnels. According to Leary, and also according to Robert Anton Wilson, another historical philosopher for whom I have a great deal of respect, the human body, and more important the brain, is bombarded by enormous amounts of sensory input every moment of every day, even when we're asleep. And there is far too much sensory input for even the most brilliant brains to be able to take on board. Some of these things just happen automatically, and our autonomic nervous system adjusts to it where necessary. Other things we have to deal with consciously, and other things, according to Leary and Wilson, if it's just too much for us to deal with, we just simply ignore it. Now, some of you who've been following this show for a while will remember that a couple of years back we filmed Wally in the atrium of the North Devon District Hospital in Barnstaple. I would like to say that this was some great psychological experiment on our part, but it wasn't. We'd been visiting Karina in hospital. It was obvious that she was going to die, even if she didn't know it. And basically I just wanted to do a bit of dicking about in order to try and cheer ourselves up. So, look what happened. Absolutely nothing. When faced with something as completely absurd as a man with the head of a rhinoceros politely looking at the information boards in the foyer of North Devon's largest general hospital, everybody totally ignored it. They weren't just being polite. I believe that most of them just paid no attention because it didn't fit in. Wally didn't fit in with their personal reality tunnels. And if this theory is true, and I truly believe that it is, it means everybody's view of reality is slightly different, because everybody's reality tunnel is slightly different. And it means that although we all operate in what one could probably call consensus reality, a reality that's a little bit like Wikipedia, that is edited by us all and we all roughly agree with, occasionally things that really truly don't fit in, the things which Charlie Fort called damned, as in excluded stuff, leaks in somehow through mechanisms we don't know, and makes an awful lot of some of the things that still today we refer to as unexplained. And what's this got to do with the fact that I personally like to live in a world that has comedy rhinoceroses and a large chicken who lives behind the compost heap and broadcasts on my equipment when no one's around? That'll be telling. And now I think before we go on any further, I should really make an admission. The phrase, "now this happens," I stole lock, stock and barrel from my friend Biffo. But Biffo's a very nice person and we all love him very much. I strongly suspect that a large number of you who are watching this first got interest in these esoteric subjects by way of the sort of books that used to be sold on railway station bookstores, and which had titles like "The World's Most Mysterious Mysteries." These used to cover such subjects as the Loch Ness Monster, the hauntings of Borley Rectory, and the event which may or may not have happened at Roswell in 1947. Basically, what our pal Richard Freeman refers to as monsters, ghasts, and UFOs. And one of the things that always appeared in these pages, practically without exception, were the Nazca Lines. These are a group of very large geoglyphs made in the soil of the Nazca Desert in southern Peru. They were created round about the time of Christ's birth, give or take 500 years, and what is half a century between friends, by people making depressions or shallow incisions in the desert floor, removing pebbles and leaving differently coloured soil exposed. Geoglyphs, by the way, are large designs, generally longer than 4 meters, produced on the ground. Sometimes these things have a religious or ritualistic significance, other times they mark a historical event, and other times they're just an art form. All sorts of peculiar claims have been made about the Nazca Lines. They are enormous, the individual designs measuring between 0.4 and 1.1 kilometers across. Because of the sheer immensity of them, there are people in the tinfoil hat brigade who believe that they were either made by aliens or on the orders of aliens, claiming that they could not possibly be seen except from the air. Other people have claimed, possibly a bit more cogently, that the people who made these lines across the Nazca Desert in southern Peru had access to hot air balloons, kites which could carry people, or primitive hang gliders. Others, like me, who know people who have successfully made land art of their own in cornfields across the south of England, just keep our own counsel and just thank the universe that there are so many more exciting and intriguing mysteries still left to solve. For years it was thought that all the Nazca Lines had been discovered, but a new one, dating to between 200 and 100 BC, has just been discovered. It's of a gigantic cat, 37 meters long, and was found on a hillside. Now, one hates to say it, but it's quite childish in execution compared to some of the other Nazca Lines, and far less stylized. Indeed, the cat even has a broad smile on its face, predating its brethren in Cheshire by over 2 millennia. It's difficult to work out what species of cat is being depicted. Even now there are 8 species of cats living in Peru, 5 species of leopardus, plus the puma, jaguar and jaguarundi. However, I think that I can make a reasonably good claim to have discovered what this cat geoglyph represents. Those squares in the side are obviously windows, and the whole thing is irresistibly reminiscent of the cat bus in the Studio Ghibli animated movie My Neighbor Totoro. And because the CFZ is a professional scientific organisation, I'm trying an experiment using scientific rigour in order to prove my theory. I want you to meet my granddaughter Evelyn, who knows all about cat buses and My Neighbor Totoro. Indeed, I have often suspected that Totoro is her neighbour as well. So, again, under conditions of strict scientific rigour, I asked her to draw the cat bus so we can compare it with the newly discovered geoglyph which has been hidden on that hillside for so many thousands of years. And I think you will agree from here. By the way, she didn't finish colouring it in because the crayons ran out, but one could probably have said exactly the same thing about the people unknown who made the cat bus geoglyph on the hill in Peru all those thousands of years ago. I think we have proved something. I think we have proved that the Japanese, as well as having invented Studio Ghibli, have also invented some weird sort of time travel. I think we need to be told. Now, where's my tinfoil hat?
If you want to support us and help us make more content like these, please press like, subscribe, follow our Facebook page and check out our Patreon.
And as the ghost of Joe Strummer and I are telling you, please remember to ring that notification bell. Otherwise you won't be told when we've got another show. Well folks, here we are at the end of another episode. I hope you enjoyed watching it because I really enjoyed making this show. I'd like to say big thank you to everybody who has helped, particularly Evelyn and Olivia and Charlotte and Maxine and Graham and of course Leary, because if it wasn't for Leary we really wouldn't be able to get any of this stuff happening. He's the guy who sorted out the sound problems, he's the guy who sorted out our new cameras and has made everything really rather cool and very groovy. So thank you very much to all of you, particularly Leary, and I'll see you again next Saturday at about 3 o'clock. Well, it will be 3 o'clock. Whether or not you are there to watch it at 3 o'clock depends on your own internal time frame. So, until then, be seeing you.